car, as I mentioned earlier on. So New York in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. Doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Hay deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah. It's all about the entertainment, so I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. And the Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another round of the Almost Pro Championship. My name, of course, is Zach Sweeney. I'm your commentator, bringing you each and every little bit of action along the way. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we head to the Circuit of the Americas. Of course, not been too historic in the world of Formula One. Was constructed, of course, in the early 2010s, joined the calendar, and has since stapled itself onto the calendar. What an event this is. What a circuit it is. Designed, of course, to sort of take bits and bobs, inspiration from some of the world's greatest racing circuits, the likes of Istanbul and Silverstone, and sort of blend it into this super hybrid of a circuit. Of course, high track temps, high tire deg, and a lot of fun along the way. So I hope that the 28 laps that we've got ahead of round number 10 of Season 6 should be absolutely fantastic. They have had a sprint race prior to this. We'll get to that in just a second with regards to the results and things like that. But yeah, essentially, it's going to be manic. And we don't have qualifying either. They did that as well a little bit earlier on. They're going to base the grid off of the sprint grid that they had. So again, we'll indulge in that in just a second. In fact, actually, just a second. Bada bing, bada boom. Boom. Here we are over into the world of racing. Hopefully, there we go. Should be. Anyway, there we go. Boom. Perfect. I know what I'm doing. Let's have a look then. They are the sprint results. Lewis Smith, of course, the championship leader off the back of Singapore, is ahead of Ethan Shackleton. Carl Stewart-Woodard then rounds off the top 3 with his brother, Connor Stewart-Woodard, and Adam Watson making 2 McLarens inside the top 5. What a great result that is for them. Jordi Lansing ahead of Andrea Chenkovan, of course, in P7, with Owen Boldero doing a brilliant job inside the points scoring positions. Unfortunately, after some technical difficulties for him, he's put out of the championship. Like we saw in Singapore with him starting on pole and things like that. Didn't work out for him, but at least he scored a point in the sprint. Now, of course, let's have a look over to the championship and what that's done to the ordeal. After the sprint, the gap at the front is just 3 championship points between Lewis Smith and Ethan Shackleton on 156 and 153 respectively. Carl Stewart-Woodard is an outside chance-ish, kind of, not really, on 113. He's going to be pressing forward to try and sort of solidify his position ahead of Jordi Lansing. Andrea Chenkovan, don't forget, he's not been here for the best part of this season, but has since been on a run of form with podiums and pole positions, and of course that win back in Silverstone there. Up inside, by the way, the top 5 in the championship despite that. Oliver Milner, who unfortunately isn't here today, with Drew Bliss as well, who also isn't here, unfortunately. They're next in the championship ahead of Thijs Moosbergen. And then the 2 McLarens, some good results in the sprint. Of course, has seen them take a couple of places inside the top 10 as well. Adam Watson and Connor Stewart-Woodard round off that particular contingent. Over to the teams, and again, a very interesting scenario has been taking place. Again, that battle 3-way at the front between Ferrari, Mercedes and Aston Martin. Of course, Ferrari, with their consistent runs of form with Chenkovan and Shackleton, have been able to open up that gap to 20 points ahead of Mercedes, who themselves are 24 ahead of Aston Martin. So brilliant stuff there, but still plenty of opportunity for things to go amiss for all 3 teams, and opportunity for things to go right, again, for all 3 teams towards this back-end point of the championship. McLaren ahead of AlphaTauri, the top 6 teams, I should say, with Williams, of course, there. 3 points on the board thanks to Owen Boldero. They've been able to sort of get themselves through. And then Alpine, Alfa Romeo and a Haas, unfortunately no drivers this season, and therefore no points. Obviously. So if you want to get yourself involved and you fancy a crack at Season 6 before they move themselves into Season 7, by all means do so. Join the Discord, get yourself involved. As you can see, we have got space on the grid. So they are on their formation lap as things stand. Let's take, of course, a quick look at the grid order for this race. As you can see, we've got Sweeney Dude 10, and better known, of course, as Lewis Smith, leading the way on pole position on hard compound tyres. Ethan Shackleton, his championship rival, by the way, 3 points separate them, is alongside with Andrea Chenkovan, again solidifying that great result, that great teamwork at Ferrari. Of course, Kyle Stewart-Woodard, as you can see, Belgian Vortex ahead of Jordi Lansing, who's the top 5. Rasta Cloud there in 6th. That is, of course, Adam Watson, who rounds off row 3, ahead of Connor Stewart-Woodard. Mr. Pug, of course, a new driver that we see today, Oren Milligan, is in the 2nd Williams, so at least Williams have got someone representing them and hopefully to score more points for them. Thijs Moosbergen, who wasn't here last week at Singapore, has returned and is on the medium tyre at the back end of the field in the Red Bull. What can he do from last place? Variety of strategies then going on. You can see the top 3 all on the hard, looking to go fairly long into this race. Of course, Carl Stewart on the soft, that's definitely going to be brave. Be interesting to see what he can do with a punchy start, and then the rest on mediums probably going for that more conventional strategy with mediums onto hards. Maybe there's a bit of rain to contend with. I mean, I'm just saying the past couple of rounds have been affected by rain at least some capacity. Maybe that's why they're going for the hards to try and prolong it all the way to the end of the dry spell, and then immediately go on to the inters before they have to do whatever. Or they're just going for the alternate strategy, going hards while the car's heavy, and then going for a softer tyre right at the end when the car's light and they can push a little bit harder. But only the drivers will know what's going on in their heads. We just have to trust that they're going to be able to make the right call, because at this point, it is crunch time. Every point counts, both in the drivers and in the Constructors' Championship as well. It all comes down to what is going to be the final 4 rounds. Lewis Smith makes the vital error of missing his pit box, and in doing so is going to start a little bit further back. But look at that, Ethan Shackleton, chef's kiss, good sir, absolutely smashed it right on the yellow line, and maybe could be having a look into turn 1. Very wide entry as well, so you can really attack. Uphill braking, so you can brake a little bit later than you'd expect as well. But what is going to happen as we gear ourselves up for race 10 of the APC Championship? We are underway here in Austin, Texas. And what a start from the front row that might well be from Ethan Shackleton. I think the pole sitter might have got a better one. Here comes Carl Stewart-Woodard as well to the inside. But around the outside goes Andrea Chenkovan trying to take second place. Goodness me, the McLaren is off in the background as well. I think that might be Connor Stewart-Woodard just getting a little bit hayward. But into the S's for the first time. It's Lewis Smith from Carl Stewart-Woodard, I should say, ahead of Andrea Chenkovan. Ethan Shackleton has dropped down to 4th place off the start. A catastrophic getaway for the Ferrari, just being swamped in the middle going into turn 1, and Lewis Smith is going to be breathing a massive sigh of relief to build an early lead. But of course, Carl Stewart-Woodard, assisted by those soft compound tyres, has been able to propel himself up inside the top 2. Now, through turn 11. Now, this is what's going to be very interesting. A long run before we get to the next braking zone at turn 12. A lot of slipstream can be used. Could we well see an attack for the lead? He's on the button, is Carl Stewart-Woodard. He's going to pull out to the left-hand side. He is going to be on the inside, of course. That's the optimal line for braking, and he takes the lead of the race ahead of Lewis Smith, who drops down to 2nd, but it's not the end of the world. He's playing the long game. He's going for longevity. Jordy Lansing, a little bit screwy off the exit of turn 13 as well. That's going to invite his teammate of Thijs Mosbergen to attack the Williams, of course, of Oren Milligan through the outside of turn 16. Nicely done, it must be said. That is definitely a brave move to go for. Of course, the Williams going to try and hang it the long way around all the way to the outside of turn 70. I think we also have a fight for the lead, or we at least did momentarily. So a lot is kicking off in the early stage of this race. Beautiful stuff then. Great respect is shown. Stewart-Woodard then is able to lead the first lap of this race. Lap 2 of 28. What a race we're gearing ourselves up for, it must be said. Into turn 1 for the second time, and Milligan looks to the outside of Mosbergen. Red Bull running quite nicely then as a 5-6 contingent, looking to attack the championship contender of Ethan Shackleton. The S is, of course, inspired by Maggots and Beckett's, of course, at Silverstone. Like I said, inspired off of historic, great venues around the world. And Maggots and Beckett's most truly are one of them. The Kota S's do pose their own respective challenge as well. Let's take a quick look as to how things have been racking up in terms of position changes. You can see there, Kyle Stewart-Woodard up 3 places off the start. Same too with Thijs Mosbergen there in P6. So they're our biggest gainers of the race thus far. Lewis Smith, though, will be looking to take that position back. He is going to attack the Aston Martin going into turn 12. Of course, the Aston Martin going defensive, trying to thwart off the attack, and is going to be successful on this particular run through. Shackleton as well, trying to keep the 2 Red Bulls behind, and he went partially defensive going into the braking zone as well. But interestingly, on the hard compound tyre, feeling a little bit racy are some of our leaders, which is a little bit strange, it must be said. A little bit wide, by the way, from the Aston Martin, but able to get the run again thanks to the traction provided by those softs to still pull ahead and stay in front of the championship leader. Of course, this Mercedes Speedy Do 10, or Lewis Smith as he's actually known. Just trying to try and bridge the gap, because I'm still learning the names, and it helps me to remember by sort of comparing the two, but also I just want you guys at home to be able to know who each person is, basically. Jordy Lansing stays ahead of his teammate Thijs Mosbergen, at least for the time being, but the Red Bulls definitely got some charging pace in them. setting the fast lap of the race there, Thijs Moosbergen. So with DRS enabled, could the Red Bulls continue their charge forward? I mean, the entirety of the top 7 are all in a second of the car in front, which means they're all within DRS range. If they can remain that sort of rhythm, I think Carl Stewart-Woodard might be in a little bit of a predicament. With cars attacking him left, right and centre, this race could get very spicy very, very quickly indeed. Probably going to be looking for Kyle to come in around about lap, I don't know, lap 8, lap 10-ish maybe? It all depends on the tyre take. He has been fighting quite hard as well, let's not forget. But interesting to say the least for Stewart-Woodard. Of course, there's Shackleton under pressure from Jordi Lansing going into turn 12. Who's going to be the braver one on the brakes? It is going to be Shackleton that stays ahead, but the traction goes the way of the Red Bull, who does pull himself alongside and takes more points away from the championship contender, who is going to fight it to the outside, but runs out of grip, runs out of confidence, albeit maybe runs out of talent as well on the outside of turn 13. So Jordi Lansing up into 4th place and immediately under pressure. So a Ferrari sandwich with some Red Bull bread. Of course, sandwiched between the two Red Bulls is the Ferrari. It most definitely is not a Red Bull sandwich. Get it right, ladies and gentlemen. Lesson learned. Zach Sweeney Commentary 101. Know your sandwiches. Anyway, back on topic. Actually, no, not back on topic. That's a vastly relevant topic. Nonetheless, here's a more relevant one. The inside line for Thijs Moosbergen as he attacks Ethan Shackleton into turn 1. And there, actually, Milligan, goodness me, he's tagged him. And Shackleton has gone round at turn 1. What an absolute missile of an attack that was from the Williams. He's attacked Ethan Shackleton, of course, going into turn 1. And in doing so, has broken the best part of his front wing and taken Shackleton out of contention for the best part of the early portion of this race. Of course, that's going to be great news to Lewis Smith in the championship title, but what? I mean, I can sort of empathise. The gap did open up, but it was not by any means open enough to go for a move. Jordi Lansing, of course, pouncing on the opportunity to take P3, albeit some very twitchy traction moments, it must be said. There's Lewis Smith as well, taking the lead of the race back. It all kicks off 0 to 100 mightily quickly here in the APC. And into turn 12, Lewis Smith is able to, of course, consolidate that race lead. Maybe the soft compound tyres falling off a little bit from Carl Stewart-Woodard. There's Thijs Moosbergen still trying to attack, this time Andrea Chenkovan, so it is still firmly a Ferrari sandwich with good old Red Bull bread. This time we've got slightly different filling, maybe the vegan substitute or something, I don't know. Andrea Chenkovan. Oh, there we go. Maybe the softs definitely are off for Carl Stewart-Woodard. He's in the barrier. What was a fantastic start for him through turn 17, and he's lost his front wing. That most certainly is suboptimal, and he'll be taking a trip into pit lane. Will Milligan be doing so as well? Yes, he will. The Williams driver is through and into the pit lane. I'm sure where Carl Stewart-Woodard will be as well. There he is. Boom. So, two big contenders out of contention. Particularly with Stewart-Woodard, it must be said. Here's Ethan Shackleton trying to start his resurgence to the top. Step 1 is going to be the McLarens. One of them is ticked off into turn 1, and that is Shackleton through into 6th place. At this stage, now it is just about damage limitation, right? Surely. That's the bottom line. For him, I don't really see much of a way that he can win this race, particularly with Lewis Smith running off with things at the moment out in front, 2 seconds clear of Jordi Lansing. I mean, maybe there's a way for Shackleton with a safety car or anything like that. Have been told there is going to be no rain, just going to be slightly cloudier at the end of the race. So that he can't even count on different weather or anything to bring it back into contention. So for Shackleton, it is just going to be about limiting the amount of points lost to Lewis Smith. Here he comes attacking the second McLaren. Of course, this time of Adam Watson to the outside of turn 12, and Watson tried to defend, but, well, it was no hope, really, when you've got a very motivated, probably very frustrated Ethan Shackleton attacking you. He's through and up into P5. Nicely done. And is now 6.6 seconds off of the back for the train for P2. Of course, Jordi Lansing is leading that train. Lewis Smith is deciding to take off into the distance and take no prisoners, is the championship leader. As things stand, he will be gaining 15 points on Lewis Smith and bring that total up to 18, effectively giving him a second place in hand As there we go, side by side, Chenkovan trying to go to the inside of turn 1, takes too much curb on the apex and gets himself a 3-second time penalty. Of course, you're allowed 2 warnings, and then you get the penalty on the 3rd infringement. And in doing so, yeah, already picked it up. So too is Thijs Moosberger, and track limits proving to be fairly difficult here at Kota. And understandably so. It's a modern circuit with an abundance of runoff. I mean, just take one look at when IndyCar and NASCAR come to the Circuit of the Americas through turn 19. I mean, if it's grey, it's okay, is their ideology. No white lines or curbs. As long as your car can go flat out, it's fair play. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. For safety reasons, I'm sure it's a great thing. But, of course, for track limits tolerations, it most definitely is not. And you've got to do your best to keep it within the confines of the track. The Ferrari is blinking in terms of CRS, but that's not going to stop Chenkovan from attacking for second place. Late braking, of course, mediums versus hards. When is this crossover going to become apparent? I think it might be around about now. Jordi Lansing trying to attack back to the inside of turn 13, but of course Chenkovan is going to be brave, gets the rotation, gets the inside for the very cambered turn 16. The up and under attempt was there, but all it does is force them back together, nose to tail. Chenkovan then leads this train in second place through turn 17. Thijs Moosbergen attempting an attack on his teammate, and Jordi Lansing, I think, is going to play the team game and let him go. In fact, no, he's not. Around the outside. Beautifully done from Thijs Moosbergen. And now Red Bull probably have a decision at hand. Who is going to be the one to lead the charge against Andrea Chenkovan? Thijs Moosbergen, of course, was the one to get the fastest lap at the beginning point of the race. Maybe that still seems slightly relevant in terms of his, you know, his overall pace as such. Maybe he can go and get after Chenkovan, but fight for the lead, at least for now. 4.6 seconds seems null and void, really, with any hope of it. There is Milligan setting himself a 37.5. Fast lap of the race, of course, and will be getting himself an extra championship point. Or, well, essentially just taking one away from Lewis Smith, it must be said, which is going to be great news to Ethan Shackleton. But I'm sure he'd rather be the one gaining the extra point as opposed to Lewis Smith, you know, sort of not getting one as such. To be fair, that gap has closed thanks to the second, third and fourth places battling. It was about 6.5 or something like that when we last checked in. As a change of position once again into turn 12. This time Thijs Moosbergen is on the inside. Definitely was the right man to lead the charge, but how easy is Chenkovan going to make it? And well, there's your answer. Tucked back in through turn 13 and stays behind the Red Bull. Once again, making it a Ferrari sandwich. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I really should stop bringing it up, but it's true. It is a Ferrari sandwich. Anyway, let me know how you're all doing out there, watching along, both on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel and, of course, the APC Twitch chat. I'll check them periodically. I don't want to click off the game too much because it's special, and it'll pause it if I click on any other tab on my PC. So I'll check them momentarily when I get a second, maybe when the race is dead or whatever. But yeah, let me know how you're feeling. Thoughts, queries, questions, whatever really tickles your fancy. I'm here all by myself, so apart from the amazing racing on track, give me something else to talk about. Ask me anything really when it comes to what's going on, how you're feeling, who you're cheering on for, whatever really, as would be fantastic. Lap 8, by the way, of 28. Interesting, actually. I want to check what tyres Carl Stewart Woodard went on to, and it was indeed hard. Maybe stretching them to the end, although I doubt it. Probably going to go for another set of softs a little bit later on, particularly if there is a safety car, maybe. Albeit they're not overly common here at Kota. Of course, thanks to what we were talking about earlier on with the track limits and things like that being so lenient as they are, it's fairly difficult to just cane it into the barrier. Chenkovan could well be under pressure and make it a double Red Bull podium. Jordi Lansing pulls out to the left-hand side and very quickly squeezes himself to the outside to take the racing line into turn 12. So what I said about the hards and the mediums crossing over, lap 8, far too early for that to be happening. Seems that the mediums still have a decent chunk of life left in them. As we approach just under a third of the way through. I think we're actually a 3.5 of the way through, because a quarter would be lap, if this was a 32 lap race, and we're on lap 8. A third, of course, would be lap 24, and 28 is in the middle of them. I don't know if that counts for anything. We're a 3.5 of the way through, or we're 2/7. There we go. Boom. Maths or something. Andrea Chenkovan comes into the pit lane, by the way, off of his hard compound tyres before... that's why. VSC is out. Why is that? McLaren's still got his front wing. So is that. Aston Martin's got one. That Williams has got one. That McLaren's got one. What has happened to prompt the VSC? Nonetheless, I think Chenkovan was just trying to capitalise on opportunity. That'll be why. Because Ethan Shackleton hasn't got a front wing. So more troubles for the Ferrari, who has to come in, amend his front wing, go on to another set of medium tyres. The green flag goes probably at the worst opportunity. He's going to be losing time. And his race has just gone from bad to worse. What could well be a turning point in the championship has turned bad. I do love that shot, by the way, as they rise up over the crest. I always think of Sebastian Vettel back in 2019 in Ferrari, where obviously his suspension broke, and everyone obviously was clipping it as the Lightning McQueen stance thing. But I do love it over the crest. You can see everything in the background. See if anyone's actually going through there. This one, are they going to switch to it? Maybe, please? No, they don't fancy it. That's fine. That's fine. We'll get it later on, I'm sure. But yeah, I absolutely love it with the tower in the background, the flag, the sun. Chef's kiss. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, lap 9 of 28. Just about a third of the way through now. Plus or minus a lap. It's fine. We'll leave it. We'll leave it at that. We're on lap 9 of 28. It's fine. We're 10/28ths of the way through. Boom. Or well, yeah. Hang on. Divide by 4. You get hang on. They're both even. 5/14ths. There we go. 2.5 sevenths. There we go. Side by side between Jordi Lansing and Thijs Mosbergen. These two, oh goodness me, definitely, speaking of fractions, have been dividing and conquering between the pair of them. They've been charging their way through and fought their way up into P2 and P3 respectively. Thijs Mosbergen, of course, doing it from last on the grid. Quite like that one, actually. I'm quite proud of that. I don't know, was it a good one? Let me know in the comments. It probably was absolutely horrible, but I thought it was quite cool while we're on the top of the practice. Anyway, we'll move on. Boom, that shot right there, love it. Lap 28, lap 10 of 28. Oh, goodness me. I'm paid to do a job, and I can't even do that. It's fine. I don't know why these guys put up with me. I've got to be honest. Clearly, Lewis McGlade was unavailable or something. I don't know. Lewis Smith, championship leader, is leading the way. But the Red Bulls, no love lost between the pair of them. Childhood best friends of these two. And, of course, the Flying Dutchmen out in front. P2 and P3 trying to sort of start a resurgence maybe for Red Bull in the championship after a woeful round, of course, in Zand, a couple of weeks ago. Then, of course, some more troubles at Singapore with no Mosbergen, and I don't think Jordi Lansing was there either. So they lost even more points thanks to that. But with a P2 and a P3 on a day where there's only one Mercedes and Ferrari, a P4 and P7, I mean, it could well be a decent chance to have a go at something. Ethan Shackleton goes on the inside of Adam Watson with a fairly sizable lockup. And finds his way up in a 6th place once again, but he's going to have to be pushing hard. Purple to the middle sector, of course, on some fresh medium tyres. And he's going to be hoping for a very fast middle stint to, at the very least, a top 5 maybe. But I think because he's pushing so hard, he is sacrificing consistency, which is probably why we saw him in the barrier. Well, we didn't see him in the barrier. We saw him without a front wing and saw the VSC bring a full course caution to the table. So here we go again. Mosbergen this time on the inside of Jordi Lansing. I mean, to be fair, they're not really losing much time battling, as Carl Stewart would have gets himself a 3-second time penalty again, I think. That might be a second one. In fact, let's look. Oh, I don't want to hide that many profiles, thank you. Penalties. No, it's his first one, first infringement. Well, his third infringement, I should say. And gets himself 3 seconds for it. So, again, going from low to low really, as Carl Stewart had really peaked early on with a great start from the second row to catapult himself into the lead. Then as the softs degraded, he spun through 17 and in comes Thijs Mosbergen into the pit lane very hesitantly, it must be said. So Lansing continues forward. And on to what tyres it must be said. I'd say probably the hards. Yeah, it is. It's white-walled hard compound tyres he's going on to the end of this race. He'll be out and he'll be on his merry way. Will Thijs Mosbergen, therefore Chenkovan takes P3 back. But probably not for long as the Red Bull rejoins the race, and then we'll be attacking Chenkovan. In fact, actually no, didn't Chenkovan's already been in? Of course he has, he came in under the VSC. So thanks to that VSC, Chenkovan is through and up in the third place. Goodness, I am slow today. Wow. That was a... Yeah. I don't know, I was trying to come up with something to compare that, but no, it's just poor from my part, really. Chenkovan is, of course, through. He put under VSC and is now 12.5 seconds clear on some medium tyres. Question is, are they going to get to the end of this race? He has to do a further 18 laps. Wow, 16 laps on those mediums. It'll probably be 17 in total, I think. No, hang on. It'll be 18 in total. In fact, make that 19 in total that he's going to have to do on some medium tyres, which obviously isn't going to be great, and probably will have to come into the pit lane again. He's going to be hoping, of course, that he can build up enough of a gap that fresh tyres means that he can extend the gap away from Thijs Mosbergen and, of course, Jordi Lansing now, come in and be ahead of them, well, at least build enough of a gap, so hopefully be ahead of him by the time he comes in again, or at the very least be close enough behind that on fresh tyres he can close up and catch up again. Jordi Lansing is in the lap later then compared to his teammate, and Andrea Chenkovan inherits P2. So quick reaction times under the VSC that, of course, was brought out by his teammate Ethan Shackleton. Don't think there's much conspiracy going on there, I've got to be honest, but good timing nonetheless, and quick decision making. Question is, of course, will it be the right decision by the time the checkered flag falls? I mean, in terms of pace, it seemed that early on the Red Bulls were the one with the benchmark for Chenkovan to try and go and get, and it seemed that Mosbergen and Lansing were sort of at the very least his equals, so maybe he just needed to try something different to get away. Lewis Smith yet to come into the pit lane. Probably won't be seeing him in for at least another couple of laps or so, I reckon. And without any penalties as well, which is even more impressive, by the way, for Lewis Smith. He's one of only 3 drivers thus far to not pick up any penalties, and one of them is his championship rival that's not had the best of races, and he's been penalised in many different ways, and the other is Jordi Lansing, who, to be fair, is in podium contention. So both of them running a pretty flawless race thus far, particularly, of course, for Lewis Smith, as things stand, of course, will be gaining a good 17 points in the championship. Yeah, 25 for the win, and then, of course, a further, what was that, 8 for P6. So, yeah, big 17 points, provided, of course, neither of them get themselves the fastest lap or anything like that, which, of course, I'm looking on the wrong thing. And it is going to Shackleton, so it is only going to be a 16 point, which brings it to 19, which means that Lewis Smith can DNF, and Ethan Shackleton would need P2 in the fastest lap to equalise in the championship, which is a nice foothold to have. Albeit, you know, not indestructible. It's very easy to sort of fall into that hubris of, you know, I'm indestructible and no one can touch me, but it very is easy for things to come crumbling down. Seen it time and time again, where champions can think they're at the top of their game and very quickly come tumbling down right at the last second, despite having a very, very sizable margin. Ethan Shackleton on the back of Oren McGillen. And no way through that time by. But with DRS, with ERS as well, little couple of taps on the button. Extra 160 brake horsepower going through his rear wheels. Gets them close to the Williams. Is it going to be close enough? No, is the answer to that one. They are only, to be fair to them, 5 seconds off the back of the 2 Red Bulls. So Ethan Shackleton, if he keeps it clean, on penalties, he might well be able to finish still ahead of at the very least, Thijs Moosbergen. Of course, definitely McGillen on the inside of turn 16. The Williams tries to get the up and under, but again, the traction goes the way of the Ferrari, who is able to find his way through. So he's ahead, and there we go. Jordi Lansing gets himself his first 3-second time penalty. So Shackleton is already halfway there in order to get himself ahead of these two. Don't forget as well, Andrea Chenkovan, albeit 11 seconds ahead, is also with some penalties. And Shackleton, albeit maybe not guaranteed that he'll get to the end of the race cleanly, but if he is able to, still with some good pace, he firmly could well be able to still finish on the podium. And what some damage limitation that would be as McGillen finds his way into and out of the pit lane for his final stop of this race. He'll be going on to some mediums, I believe. There he is, beautiful, onto the yellow-walled medium tyres to the end. 14 laps seems fairly manageable, particularly as the fuel load is going to be less and therefore the tyre wear will be as well. And of course with the fact that it is scheduled to get a little bit more overcast as the race develops, it will be, well, should be fine when it comes to tyre deg and managing it. Absolutely no trouble at all, I'm sure, for McGillen. Checking in with everyone else around the grid as well. Here's Connor Stewart-Woodard at the back end, unfortunately for him, but still out there, still competing, still improving and finding pace more and more. His teammate Adam Watson is just behind Carl Stewart-Woodard. There in the Aston Martin, was leading the way, of course. We have to remind him just to rub it in and you know, boost that frustration a little bit more. But he's there in 6th. Ethan Shackleton, of course, not having the best of races for the championship contender. He's down in P5, but maybe with more on the cards if he's able to pick up the pace a little bit. There is this battle for P3 between the two bulls of Jordi Lansing and Thijs Moosbergen. Of course, the two of them separated by less than a second, and closing in, it must be said, actually, on Andrea Chenkovan. Only 8.8 seconds between themselves and, of course, the Croatian driver of Chenkovan. I think he's Croatian at least. No, he is. Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, no, he is. It's fine. I know my stuff. It's absolutely fine. That shot right there is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, 16 to 28. Of course, that is 8 of 14 or 4/7 of the way through. So, you know, over half of the way through. You know, boom, quick maths. Approaching in on, of course, 2/3 of the way through as well. Here's the fight, Adam Watson versus McGillen, the Williams on the inside. And let's see who's going to get the traction. Of course, the Williams, as you can see, no blinking rain light, and therefore has got the ERS to spare in a dispute. Is going to be dumping some of it on this back straight with the DRS as well. Into the pit lane comes Lewis Smith, by the way, for his first and only stop of this Grand Prix. I think Andrea Chenkovan will find a way through, albeit, actually, to be fair, closer than I'm sure Chenkovan would like to admit. He is going to get ahead, but it probably won't be long until Lewis Smith finds his way through. We've then also got this battle here between McGillen and, of course, Carl Stewart-Woodard, but only 2.5 seconds is the gap, and don't forget that you think Chenkovan probably will have to pit again. And even if he doesn't, at best it's going to be P2. And that just goes to show Lewis Smith's absolutely insane pace early on in this race. And will only extend that gap more and more. I mean, to be fair, Jordi Lansing, Thijs Moosbergen only 5 seconds behind, and technically that is on raw pace. But with Smith on the mediums, he'll of course naturally extend that gap. I think the two Red Bulls at the moment are just working together, which is understandable, considering their dilemma of, you know, trying to catch in the championship and things. And there is the fight for the lead, by the way, albeit, you know, not much of a fight, but nonetheless, as Lewis Smith actually picks himself up his first 3-second time penalty of this Grand Prix. But in doing so, of course, I don't think it's going to matter too much. He blitzes his way past the Ferrari of Cenkovan, who doesn't really put up much of a fight at all and would rather, I'd imagine, sit behind in the DRS for as many laps as physically possible just to bridge the gap away from the Red Bulls. And who better to use than Lewis Smith with his amazing pace this race, but already struggling to keep within the DRS. That commitment through the S's, whether that's setup or driver, a bit of both, of course, but remarkable nonetheless. And yeah, within, what, the first sector, he's nearly 2 seconds clear, which is crazy, absolutely crazy from Lewis Smith. I think it is a combination of both man and machine. That setup must be really well tuned into him, and he must be really well tuned into the car. Because through the S's, I mean, yeah, fair enough, he's on fresher tyres and things, and understandably you'd expect him to be quicker through high commitment sections, but yeah, that was fantastic nonetheless. Thijs Moosbergen presses the button and goes on the inside of Jordi Lansing to turn 12, and that wasn't too hardly fought by his Dutch countryman. Faster lap of the race for Lewis Smith, and into the pit lane comes Andrei Cenkovan for his second, hopefully final stop of the race as well. He's going to have some ground to make up relative to the Red Bulls. And onto another set of medium tyres, so a peculiar two-stop strategy. Shackleton is in as well, and no trouble double stack for Ferrari. Yeah, they'll be ready for him as soon as he gets there, viewing perfectly timed. Oh, maybe not actually, did have to slow down a little bit. Slight hesitation from the Ferrari crew, not entirely sure as to why, but nonetheless, Cenkovan rejoins the race on mediums, and 13 seconds, give or take, behind the two Red Bulls. Now, he's got 11 laps. No, not even. Oh, what is up with me today? 9 laps to go and catch the two Red Bulls. So, 13 over 9. This is roughly going to be about 1 and a bit seconds a lap. 1.2-ish, 1.25 seconds a lap. Got on board actually with Lewis Smith for some time, and perfectly timed actually to maybe go on a bit of a lap tour with him. Just to see what it's all about really, how the master at work is. Of course, still got a decent chunk in his battery, he's got the fast lap of the race, and it's chill all the way to the checker flag. Into turn 1, of course, probably looking for that black box on the right hand side. That's your braking marker, down to second gear, and plenty of different lines you can take, but I think that was the perfect one there, showcased by Lewis Smith, and building the traction on the exit. Did I hear traction control sort of blipping in for him? Anyway, through the S's, flat through the first bit, a little bit of a lift for the second, downshift to get that rotation, nice apex, bring it over to the right, flick it over to the left, be careful of the track limits, and that is how to dance your way through the Kota S's. That was absolutely sublime. Over the crest, of course, as you dip your way downhill, again, got to be very careful not to exceed track limits. Braking zone, of course, for turn 11, and again, just building the throttle very, very, very carefully. Again, foot down to the floor, and this back straight run towards turn 12 already has gained a decent chunk of time over the Red Bulls. The first sector alone, downhill braking into the heaviest braking zone on the circuit, braking at the 100 board. Be careful not to lock up the front left as he did there. Second gear, rotation on the exit, and then into turn 13. It's all about just opening this up and building the confidence, keeping it as tight as you can for 14, and then through 15, braking as soon as the car's in a straight line for this cambered left-hander at 16, and then building your way up through this inverted Istanbul turn 8 remake at turn 16, 17 and 18. Then, of course, you run your way into the quick flick here at 19, where you have got to be careful of track limits on the exit. build up the confidence, brake as soon as the car is straight, uphill, but use the camber on the inside and that curb as well to hook the car around, and there we go. Nice little lap time put in there by Lewis Smith, showcasing why he was just able to gain nearly 2 seconds on the 2 Red Bulls that lap alone. Andrea Chenkovan, by the way, sub 10 seconds with still 7 laps to go at the line. Of course, actually no, because it's lap 21, so it's going to be 8 laps to go at the line, because obviously you do 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. So it's the difference plus 1, because obviously you finish the final lap, you don't just stop on as you start the final lap. Something that always sort of catches me out when it comes to lap races, but that's fine. A little bit tentative, and you could see the difference there between Chenkovan and Lewis Smith, whether or not it was just a poor lap and we don't know what he's been doing all race long, but again, turn in, turn out, and then turn back in again, having to readjust the car. And small adjustments like that, small corrections are going to have to take a toll, and they will take a toll as the race develops. There's the cloud that we saw. Of course, no threat of rain, but tyre temps bring themselves down naturally as Ethan Shackleton versus, of course, McGillen. This is this battle. The Ferrari catapulting himself past, and absolutely no trouble in the world whatsoever did he in finding his way past the Williams up in a 5th, and albeit a fair way off his teammate of Andrea Chenkovan, and probably no hope of going any higher than 5th place. Chenkovan might well still be able to attack for a podium. I mean, that gap down to 6 seconds on some fresh mediums compared to the ever-aging hards of the 2 Red Bulls. 6 laps left to go. I do love the sound of the Honda or Red Bull powertrains power unit. The gargle that they have is very nice. The lift off, and yeah, I don't know what it is. The backfire, I guess, or something. Just again, that sound as they roll off the throttle. Although I've never really been a fan of the F1 games audio files. It's yeah, all sounds a bit too similar to me. I mean, there is a difference there. And again, there is a difference there, but I don't know. The Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes powertrains, they just don't sound great to me in game. Whereas you go to other sims like, I don't know, iRacing or Assetto Corsa or whatever, they all do audio fairly well. I just never really think the F1 games have done. I've got to be honest. And they're bog standard. That, you know, they've been copy pasted each game as well. Again, it's never really been a big thing. Never been a big thing that they've addressed too much. Still sounds vastly the same from what it was back on F1 2018 when I first got into it. That's Carl Stewart-Woodard going very wide off the exit, going into turn 10. Of course, he's battling away with his brother, of course, of Connor Stewart-Woodard back in P8. Chenkovan there, crossing the line, lap 23 of 28, and he has got sight. Target fixation then, the 2 Red Bulls 3.5 seconds ahead. What's the penalty situation looking like? This one? No, it's not. It's the other one. Boom. Love it. It's fine. Yellow flag through sector 2, by the way. That is going to be Carl Stewart-Woodard. He has had an issue through T12. Hasn't picked up another penalty thanks to it. However, Thijs Mosbergen has picked himself up another penalty. 6 seconds, and he's within firing range of Andrea Chenkovan. So as things stand, Chenkovan is going to be on the podium. Question is, which step is it going to be on? The 3rd or the 2nd? Now, Jordi Lansing, he's got an option here. He lets his teammate go to build a gap, to solidify this podium. I think that is going to be what they're doing, the swap that they're going to try and do here. Unless Lansing is going to battle it, he's not. Lets off the throttle and allows his teammate through. Game on then. I think Lansing is just going to be trying to keep Chenkovan behind for as long as possible so the 2 Red Bulls can concrete their podium. Because just what happened. I think Connor Stewart would have had some issues as well. He's onto the softs to the end, so maybe there was contact between the pair of them that, of course, saw the Aston Martin go round. Only yellow flags, of course, nothing major. But nonetheless. 24 of 28, about to start lap 25. In fact, actually, no, we're already on lap 24 because Lewis Smith is in a different world. 0.6 of it, half a second now between DRS range for Chenkovan and Jordi Lansing. So the gap is ever closing, bit by bit by bit by bit, creeping its way down. And is probably, oh, that's argy-bargy between Kyle Stewart-Woodard and, of course, Adam Watson going through the second sector. Of course, the Aston Martin is eventually able to find his way through, but through the S's, thanks to the high grip of these mediums, or relative grip, I should say, he's able to close the gap and have DRS range. Slightly less overtake, as you can see, just on their HUD there, between Chenkovan and Jordi Lansing, but DRS will open. Of course, Lansing will have it on his teammate. And this is the battle that we've all been waiting for. How much life does these mediums have left, though? That's going to be the question. Jordi Lansing is through on Thijs Mosbergen. Chenkovan probably going to have to wait for at least another lap to really go for an attack. To turn 19, about to start lap 25 of 28, and the DRS range is there. Of course, Thijs Mosbergen, the Red Bull ahead of him directly, has got an extra 3 seconds of penalties. So maybe Mosbergen is the sacrifice. Maybe he's the one to allow Lansing to get away. However, Chenkovan, oh my goodness me, that's late on the brakes from, oh goodness me, the two Red Bulls have pushed themselves off. It's civil war, and Chenkovan goes through into second place. What a sensational move that was by the Ferrari. And Mosbergen, in his haste and his desperation to defend, was actually the downfall of it all. Way too late on the brakes going into T1. Caught his teammate off guard. Thankfully, no contact between the pair of them, but Chenkovan was then able to pick up the spoils and find his way past into P2. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how it's done. Do the Red Bulls have enough to attack? Because they're going to need to into turn 12. They're going to need to throw everything at this if they want any chance of staying ahead of Chenkovan for any meaningful amount of time. I mean, Mosbergen launched one on his teammate. God forbid what he's going to be able to do on Chenkovan. However, I think his attention actually has to turn backwards, because here comes Jordi Lansing. He's going to try and look to the inside of turn 12. He does commit to it, gets alongside, but Chenkovan sees it coming, goes the long way round of turn 12. However, the Red Bull is not giving up easy. He looks once again on an attack, but it's not good enough, and Chenkovan thwarts it, stays in second place. I think that might well be deal done. The pit under the VSC, the second stop, has now actually paid off relative to the Red Bulls to secure a P2 for Chenkovan. Of course, there is still 3 laps left to go, but a strategical call nonetheless from Chenkovan. Great reactions, and he's driven perfectly since. The overtakes have been sublime. Question is, of course, what do the Red Bulls have to contend with it? I think there might well be a counter-attack. Jordi Lansing is back through to the inside of T1, but Chenkovan tries to hang it the long way round, but that, as it tightens up on the exit, you need to just get that extra bit of rotation. If you're trying to carry speed around the outside, it becomes ever difficult to do so. So, in fact, actually, Lansing is back through. And once again, guys, guess what? It's a Ferrari sandwich with Red Bull bread, but it's fine. It's also 2, 3, 4, 5. Red Bull from Ferrari, from Red Bull from Ferrari. Of course, Shackleton only 5 seconds behind. All he needs is 3 seconds to Thijs Mosbergen to get an extra position. If we look at the penalty situation, there you can see Ethan Shackleton needs 2 seconds on Thijs Mosbergen in 2.5 laps to get a P4 at the least. So maybe Chenkovan is going to try and back up these Red Bulls into his teammate to secure some more championship points, not only for Ferrari, but of course for that Drivers' Championship. Late on the brakes for the Red Bull of Lansing, though, as Chenkovan gives him the squeeze up the hill towards turn 13. Now, slight inclination, of course. The inside line goes the way of the Flying Dutchman, but here comes Chenkovan back through, has the agility, swoops his way to the inside of the cambered 16, and the outside line does not prevail for Lansing on lap 26 of 28. As we start the penultimate lap, Lewis Smith leads them round. But what a battle this has been between Lansing and Chenkovan. Just goes to show the power of Slipstream and DRS, but also sheer will from Jordi Lansing to not give up. But at what point is he doing more harm than good? At what point is he reeling Ethan Shackleton in? Because he is less than a second off taking that P4 off of his teammate. Lansing is back through into T1. A little bit too late on the brakes, but I think he is going to be okay. But Chenkovan, of course, wants to attack into T12, I think. Lansing has just had more ERS, I think, for the most part, but of course, with how hard he's been battling, that's been wearing thin. Ethan Shackleton, though, half a second. Keep seeing slight drips, and I don't know if it's rain. I don't think it's rain. I think it's just sort of the flicker of the camera or something, because it most definitely wasn't forecasted to be wet. But I keep having to give myself a second look. It's not. We're fine. It's just cloudy. Ethan Shackleton, by the way, is less than a tenth of a second off taking P4 and limiting the damage in the championship by a further 2 points. Ducking and diving. Here comes Chenkovan back to the inside of the Red Bull of Lansing, who tries to get the up and under, but there is going to be contact between the pair of them. And Shackleton looking ever daunting in the rearview mirrors of these three. The final lap, though, has started. Lewis Smith begins his final tour of COTA. Andrea Chenkovan is about to do exactly that as well. Will it be second? Will it be third? What position is he going to take? Shackleton is going to be moving his way up in a P4 as things stand. Six seconds for Mosbergen. Of course, for the other two, it's all about keeping it clean and not letting Shackleton take them in one foul swoop. Inside line once again for Lansing, but it's way too deep, and there we go. The racing line prevails for Chenkovan, who fights his way back through. They are going to be side by side of the final lap towards the S's, but thankfully, Jordi Lansing does the right thing there, which was back straight out of that one. Yellow flag through sector 2. I think that's one of the McLarens. Indeed it is. It is going to be Connor Stewart Woodard that is unfortunately having some problems. But all is good. No harm, no foul, as already Lewis Smith, as ties Mosbergen, well, there we go, nail in the coffin, isn't it? He's going to be dropping back to P5 nonetheless. Keeping an eye on as to where Lewis Smith is on the track map, though, because we want to enjoy as much of this battle as possible. Jordi Lansing goes to the inside of Andrea Chenkovan in towards T12, but we're going to have to check in with this man right here, because from pole position, he has dominated this race. The pace, the consistency, all the ingredients, a power slide to the line, and Lewis Smith extends the gap at the front with a victory here in COTA. And very quickly back to this battle, because who's it going to be? Is it going to be Lansing? Is it going to be Chenkovan? Shackleton, by the way, give him a couple more laps. I would not have written him off for a second place. But I think, provided Lansing can keep it clean, there's not going to be enough that Chenkovan can do unless it's an almighty dive to the final corner, which is covered off anyway. The Red Bull not taking any chances on this run to the line. And it is Red Bull led. Jordi Lansing taking the podium. And, of course, with Chenkovan there as well, Ethan Shackleton able to claw his way up into fourth place. Beautifully done from the Ferrari in terms of that comeback drive, and that was clinical. Of course, mistakes all his own and issues that arose early on because of, well, of course, the initial issue of Oren Milligan, absolutely spearing into the side of him, but he's limited the damage very nicely, and that's the problem more than anything with motor racing, depending on what side of it, of course, you're on, is that sometimes you are at the mercy of other people. Sometimes you do have to hope that you aren't the victim of something untoward like that happening. But Lewis Smith, victorious. Of course, we'll run you through the full final finishing orders before catching up, I'm sure, with a couple of our drivers. Hopefully, anyway. We'll see if it works. It should work, Touch wood. Driver of the day goes to Thijs Moosbergen. I don't know if I'll entirely agree to that. It's cliche, but Lewis Smith, can't take anything away from him. Drove with such maturity, such consistency, and there he is on the top step. There are, by the way, the finishing order. Lewis Smith, the sprint race win, and the feature race win as well as the fastest lap. He took all of the boxes. Pole position, fastest lap, and both victories ahead of Yuri Lansing and Andrea Chenkovan on the podium. Ethan Shackleton limits the damage with 4th place, albeit not too happy with how things turned out today. Thijs Moosbergen, penalties let him down in the end in 5th. Oren Milligan, not a bad debut by any stretch of the imagination for the Irishman, but of course some controversy by going into the side of the Ferrari, albeit P6, not bad. Kyle Stewart-Woodard, of course, not going to be looking too happily with how things went for him. An opportunity potentially to be leading the race and spun through turn 17. Adam Watson ahead of Connor Stewart-Woodard as well, rounds off the 9 driver grid that we had. What we're going to do is we're going to jump our way over to that screen so I can sort myself out when it comes to, of course, the amazing podium interviews that we hopefully should be having. I'm going to jump my way over into Discord and we'll have a chat with some of our drivers. I suppose what we'll do is we'll start with Oren Milligan first and foremost. So can we clarify, can you hear me and can I hear you?
I most certainly can hear you, Zach. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Absolutely. Fantastic. That is the way we want to go. You weren't here last week. It was a shambles. It's fine. But anyway, debut round for you, of course. Not bad result, of course, when it comes to the feature race. P6, a tough race in the end for you?
Honestly, it was great. I tapped right at the start and I lost my front wing there, so that compromised me a bit, so I had to pit early. But there was an Aston and McLaren also at the pit, so kind of got to use the DRS off them. So, you know, I made the comeback then. VSC helped a lot too, as it ended quite quickly, so I was able to skip a Ferrari and a McLaren as well in the pits.
Didn't go too badly then for you, as I say, P6 in the end. And yeah, albeit maybe a controversial moment with the Ferrari. It's not like he's a championship leader or anything like that, but it's absolutely fine. It's fine. It's not the worst debut I think we've seen in the world. I mean, good points, of course. And when it comes to, of course, we've got Mexico, Brazil, Qatar, and of course Abu Dhabi to round off the season. I suppose for you, what are your ambitions? There's not much you can do in terms of a championship. Is it more a learning curve for you, or are you going to see if you can mix it up a bit?
It's unfortunate that I can't, you know, get anywhere in the championship. I probably could get somewhere if I do perform well, like this especially. I can probably do better than this. But it really depends on the competition, honestly. You know, there wasn't a lot of people in that race, so we have to see what the rest of the league is like.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, there is some tough competition, particularly with Lewis Smith up in front. Absolutely smashing it, really. I mean, he was untouchable. I mean, what's your biggest takeaway from sort of your first impressions of the APC then? Do you think as a championship you can succeed in the future?
I possibly could, you know, if I were to said, you know, have a proper vision of the future, I can see what I could put myself into. You know, maybe join a different team or something, or try fix my setups, or just get better at the game in general.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, simple as that. Just go quicker and you'll be all right. But fair enough.
Exactly.
It's simple as that, mate. It's all skill issues, basically. It's fine. I had a couple of them in the commentary booth today. It's absolutely no problem at all. Of course, for you, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in to have a chat. I'm sure there'll probably plenty more chats as the season goes on. Hopefully, some success to write home about as well.
That's all right. That's nice to meet you, Zach. And I'm glad the APC League could have me, and I'm glad that you could have me here right now.
Awesome stuff. Well, take care. Hopefully we'll see you back in a week's time.
All right, Zach. See you next week.
Take care. Oren Milligan, then P6 in the end for him. We're going to chat with the main man. I just want to start with this man, by the way. What on earth did you have for breakfast this morning? Because what a drive.
Thank you. It's much appreciated that. Honestly, it's crazy race. But no, obviously happy with the win.
Well, yeah, understand. Well, yeah, easy as that, really. I mean, it's just a sublime race for you. Of course, great points in the championship over Ethan Shackleton. Of course, you've got, as I say, 4 more rounds left to go. You go to Mexico, Brazil, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. Are you confident you can hang on? I think it's like a 16, 17-point lead going into the final 4 rounds. I mean, is the championship yours?
Yeah, obviously, I feel like Ethan would say the same thing, really. Like, I feel like we've both got to be confident, and I'm confident in my own abilities to bring it home in a sense. Just got to really do my own race, and obviously today I got lucky where there was a load of incidents behind me, but I'm not complaining at all. It's just glad to get more points on the board already.
And sort of tell us what that recipe for success is. I mean, you just had a bit of everything. Great pace, of course, qualifying well definitely helped, and then just being able to get away at the start was obviously very helpful in the end. Is it sort of something that you're going to be able to take forward and replicate for the final 4 rounds as well?
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, obviously the strategy of starting on the hards, it paid off in a way. Obviously at the start of the race as well, I was up there with Kyle. He was on the softs, kind of following his pace because he had great pace on the softs. And then there was a load of incidents behind me, like I said before. And then from there, just being able to pull away whilst the guys behind were scrabbling. Obviously, I'd love to say that every race would be like that, but I think as long as, like I said before, as long as I do what I need to do, I think I'll be okay in a short term.
Confidence definitely is key, and you can definitely back up said confidence with, again, some superb drives. Lewis, of course, thank you for coming in, having a chat. Best of luck for the rest of the season. Well, hopefully some more success to write out about in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome stuff. Lewis Smith, of course, smashing it today when it comes to his respective championship run. Can't see anyone else waiting in the waiting room, so I think we have exhausted our interviews. But it's nice that we were able to have a couple of chats with some drivers. Always good to get that insight. And, of course, I can sit here and try and predict what they're thinking, but no one knows really what's going through their head better than themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is going to bring an end to this evening's coverage of the Almost Pro Championship. Season number 6, of course, round 10 took us to the USA. But in a week's time, we'll be heading to Mexico City before that run towards the final round at Abu Dhabi. We've got Mexico, Brazil, Qatar, and the UAE to round it off on the 11th of June. So we'll be a little bit into the next game cycle. Of course, F124 coming out on the 31st of May. But not to worry, we'll be seeing this championship out, and we will be seeing some great success coming through from everyone involved. Thank you, of course, to everyone at home watching along, albeit either on JPB or, of course, on the APC League Twitch. Of course, like, follow, subscribe, turn the bell on for all notifications. Everything sim racing-wise comes out of JPB, and, of course, the amazing championship that is Season 6 of the APC is one to follow as well. My name has been Zach Sweeney. I've been talking you through each and every single little bit of action this evening. Tune in next week, of course, same time, albeit actually a little bit earlier. We'll be going live about 8:30 for those in the UK. Translate that to wherever you are around the world, because Mexico City is not one you're going to want to miss. In the meantime, take care and a very warm goodbye.